Hello and welcome to what could be considered one of the most important and influential episodes in television history. For you see, on today, the 1st of July, we bid farewell to the first Doctor. Yes, I totally planned it that way all along, why would you doubt it? And now the time has come to review a story I've wanted to watch for years, but put off simply for the fact that it felt wrong to watch a Doctor's final story without first watching some of their previous adventures. And what an adventure it's been! We've seen historic epics throughout human history, taking us all around the world across several centuries. Plus we've experienced extraterrestrial planets, alien creatures, and a buttload of Daleks. We've witnessed the Doctor transition from smug, confrontational, unlikable prick to a more tolerable, slightly less grumpy, and compassionate old man. And this review series has been an adventure of its own. I always wanted to do reviews for YouTube, but didn't know where to start, and I felt I needed a lot of practice, so going out on a whim and just reviewing old Doctor Who episodes paid off immensely. Sure, I'm lucky if a video will get more than 20 views, but it doesn't matter. I still enjoy the process of creating them and interacting with what few viewers I do have. Shout out to Andreas, Cameron, and Andrew. Let's dive into it, shall we? The TARDIS arrives in the freezing snow of the South Pole Army Base in 1986, which, despite being decades old for us, at the time this story aired, it was still 1966, so this was like 20 years in their future. Back then we still considered Pluto to be a planet, hence the title The 10th Planet, another four-parter where part 4 is the only missing episode this time. The Doctor, Ben and Polly make their way into the base, much to the confusion and frustration of the commanding general, and we get this nice subtle detail that alludes to Ben's, current circumstance as a member of the military, where he stands at attention with a "Sir, yes sir!" Just a cool little detail. Fairly quickly, things go south, when a brand new planet seemingly appears out of nowhere. The new planet reveal scene is amazingly tense. It honestly felt like I was watching an old sci-fi thriller movie, where the actual reveal itself is held off, and instead they just use the terrified facial expressions and nervous dialogue of the actors to convey just this immensely threatening aura. It was this early on that I realised that this wasn't going to be just another filler story. Oh no, there was genuine effort put into everything from set design, lighting, and cinematography to create a fantastic atmosphere. The tense mystery of this quickly approaching planet just starts to feel like it's dragging a bit when we get the reveal of what would soon become one of the Doctor's greatest foes. Struggling to see through the icy blizzard, peering through the blustery snow, we see tall human-like creatures approaching a poor expendable soldier. Dispatched with a single blow, the creatures turn to reveal the Cybermen. It really is a shame about those eye holes. Okay, so this is their debut, so I can let their less than stellar design pass. It's close enough to their iconic look, and I really hope it's finalised by their next appearance in the moon base. It's just the design is a little too busy. Too many tubes, the chest plate is far too big, and so is the massive headgear. That thing just looks goofy. Also, their weapon of choice is this giant, huge headlamp-looking thing that requires 2 hands to wield, and let's face it, is literally just like a big old torch lamp. And their voice is just plain annoying.
We are called Cybermen.
Cybermen?
Yes, Cybermen. We were exactly like you once.
You will become like us. We will be the ones to say hello to you. Definitely a prototype for their far superior design yet to come. At least they utilise my ever-favourite one-chop kill manoeuvre, where a single strike from the side of the hand leads to immediate death. Although Ben does survive being shoved over a railing, backflipping and falling who knows how far on the process and coming away with just a headache. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves. The Doctor, using his knowledge of this time period, tries to warn the General of the incoming danger but is swiftly dismissed. Holding the humans hostage, the Cybermen seem almost reasonable at first. Hey, so our planet Mondas is the twin planet of Earth and needs to be recharged, so we're just gonna drain it a bit, okay, and you'll be fine. Except drain the Earth means completely drain the Earth, destroying it in the process, and you'll be fine translates to, yeah, you can come live with us on Mondas and we'll turn you into emotionless cyborgs. They don't seem intentionally evil, just with their emotions entirely absent, they simply don't care for any loss of life. Like, it literally means nothing to them. Sounds pretty human to me. I'm just being cynical. We're not all that bad. At the very start of episode 3, the Doctor randomly collapses, and I'm convinced William Hartnell doesn't even appear in this episode, instead utilising a sleeping body double with a wig. The distraction, however, is enough for Ben and the General to gain the upper hand and dispatch this first batch of Cybermen. Now Ben, Polly, and a sympathetic scientist must hurry to foil the plot of the now power-mad General from launching the Z-nuke. A nuke that sure may destroy Mondas, but will definitely destroy Earth in the process, all without the Doctor's help. He's sleeping. Feeling a bit under the weather. I gotta give props to the actor who plays the General. His performance is amazing. He does a great job of being this tall, imposing, and threatening presence. At least until the Cybermen return with a vengeance, and he's gone. Episode 4, the animated one. The Doctor, now much weaker, and the Cybermen have a standoff, each holding the other at a disadvantage, with the fate of two worlds hanging in the balance, neither side willing to back down, and time is running out. This is easily in my top 3 First Doctor stories, I'm calling it now. The day is saved, however, but not without a cost. William Hartnell really does sound like he's at death's door here, but before I talk about the ending of the episode, I really want to get my thoughts of the overall story out of the way first. Okay, so aside from the less than stellar design, the Cybermen were just as awesome in their debut as I hoped they would be. Like, I frickin' love the Cybermen, right? My first 2 Doctor Who stories were about the Cybermen. I love the Cybermen. They're not as threatening, but they still have that eerie, imposing demeanour that sets them apart from other villains. Like, they look so close to being human, but they lack any semblance of humanity. I know I say it pretty much every time, but I really, really enjoyed watching this. There's just enough extra effort put into this to solidify it as one of the best stories of the First Doctor's run. Heck, even the episode 4 animation wasn't bad. Now, you must know by now, I am very critical of these official BBC commissioned animated episodes. But here, it's all fairly detailed with plenty of frames, and they don't go overboard like in the Reign of Terror where you've got eyes darting all around the place and 10 cuts crammed into 2 seconds of screen time. I'm aware that different animation houses or studios or whatever are responsible for different Doctor Who animated reconstructions, but I'm deliberately keeping myself in the dark in regards to those, so I don't, get my hopes up and start loving one particular studio only for them to fail to deliver my high expectations, and I'm just setting myself up for disappointment. I'll review them on their own merits as they come. And hey, maybe it's just because last week's fan animation of the Smugglers was so bad that this seems like a masterpiece by proxy, but I promise you it did the job well enough. I might even go so far as to say it was actually good. We'll see how it holds up in the future. Anyway, the only thing worth mentioning that I guess wasn't great was the inconsistent sound volume. Like, I've never had to listen to a Doctor Who DVD at max volume before, but I had to here. And yet it would constantly fluctuate between really quiet and really loud, like sometimes within the same scene, particularly in episode 1. I mean, it didn't annoy me, but it was distracting a bit. And that's pretty much the only thing I have to say that's even close to a negative about the 10th planet. Well, the Doctor suddenly randomly fainting without much explanation was pretty dumb. I get that it was to set up what's about to happen, but I still think they could have had a bit more of an explanation to it. Speaking of which, back to the end of the final episode. The Doctor is weak, light fading from his eyes as he stumbles through the snow. I'm willing to overlook the forced, unexplained nature of it and just appreciate the moment. After stumbling back into the TARDIS, the console room going haywire, and with Ben and Polly trapped outside in the freezing blizzard, in one final show of strength, the Doctor flicks open the door switch and collapses to the floor. What happens next not only changed the show, but arguably changed the television landscape forever. Very long story short, William Hartnell's health was rapidly declining, which explained him flubbing his lines in multiple serials. He was ready to move on from Doctor Who, but rather than let the show die with his departure, the executives came up with the ingenious idea that the Doctor could regenerate his body. And why not? He is an alien after all. This one simple idea led to the show's unique ability to reinvent itself and essentially renew itself for years to come. So as Ben and Polly huddle around the Doctor's body, he draws his final breath. And then his body begins to glow with this brilliant light. And BAM! A new man lies in his place. The Doctor has regenerated. William Hartnell is gone, and now Patrick Troughton begins his journey as the Doctor. This must have been the best cliffhanger for people to watch back in 1966. What happened? Who is this new Doctor? Well, they would just have to wait and see. Admittedly, they didn't have to wait very long, and this is something I found really interesting, is that the whole regeneration thing happened a couple of serials into a new season. Again, like I said in my previous review, I always saw Doctor Who's classic continuity as one continuing timeline rather than being separated season by season. But technically this is season 4, serial 2. What happens now? What's next for the show? Well, much like viewers back in the day, you'll just have to wait a week to find out. Tune in... Tune in... Oh, I don't feel so good. Oh, I guess this old body's wearing a bit thin. Well, that was something. I've always wanted a moustache. Well, where were we?
Anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to tune in next week when we review The Power of the Daleks, kicking off the new Doctor's adventures with a bang. Can't wait.